back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen.
We back.
I wasn't even gonna do that. I was gonna be like, "Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back."
Now that's not how it works, bro. You gotta stay consistent.
That's crazy.
Continuity. Word of the
Man,
day.
we is back.
You gotta hit them with some of that knowledge is power.
All right. Nutty North, presented by Mojo Sports Gear, episode 15. Let's say episode 15.
Speaking about continuity, that's how you not continuity. I don't know if that's even the term, but we're gonna make it one today. That's not how you continuity.
That's not how you continue. I don't even think that's a word.
But we made it one today. My Browns are 3-1. I can do whatever I want.
All right.
Whatever.
See, that team starts winning, he starts going crazy. That's crazy.
It's gonna be worse. The more we win, I'm telling you, I'm annoyed with myself. That's how annoying I want to be. I deserve it, man.
Hey, all them years of being trash.
That's what I'm saying. I can take the jokes.
Yeah.
Year by year.
I feel it like back in 2015. I was the same way when them Bengals was winning.
Man.
Yeah, but speaking on that, let's look at these standings now. I don't know how they still at the top, but still it's at the top with 3-0. Ravens is 3-1. Browns 3-1. And my Bengals got their first win. 1-2-1. Yes, sir. What you thinking about that standings?
This is about what I expect. I mean, obviously you wanted the Steelers to have another game just because you don't never, as much as I hate them, I never want to see them not be able to play because of COVID, whatever. They've played good ball up to this point. I'm still talking about it even though they didn't play. They beat up on the bums, but that's doing what you're supposed to do. But for the most part, like if it was switched around, like obviously one team was going to have a loss no matter what, with the Browns and Ravens having to play each other. But I kind of figured after the first four, it was going to be somewhat like this. Either the Browns, I thought, the 3-1, 2-2 area. I can't necessarily say I thought it would be 4-0, but I thought it would be around that area. I had the Ravens losing to the Chiefs, so that pretty much added up the way I thought it was. They came out dominated week one, but at the last couple games, I don't know what the Ravens are just because they've not really played talent like that. You know what I mean? Like the Redskins aren't, your barometer. It's a different game.
Defensive line, the Redskins aren't much.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's still Haskins ends up getting benched. And that defense of the Ravens was just they kind of went into his head. So it kind of became one of those things. But the Ravens are, even if they coast, they're going to be at or around the top of that division. They're a great team. They're going to be a great team. They know where their barometer is. They know what they're going to be judged on. It's going to be way later in the season. It's going to be how they end the season, playing in the playoffs. If they have another early exit, nothing they do in the regular season matters. And I think they kind of have that mindset. They should be a little bit worried at this point just because the biggest test they had, they failed with Kansas City. But they still should be riding high though, even with that, because they did for the most part what they were supposed to do. They came out and beat the team they were supposed to beat. Even though I thought my Brownies would get them week one, they on the Ravens side of things, they did what they needed to do against the other team in their division or another division rivalry would come out and dominate. So I mean, shout out to them. For the Bengals, like we talked about last week, they had to come and get this one. Just because, I mean, one, Philadelphia is cool to have that tie, whatever. We hate ties, but right. If you're the Bengals, it's progress.
Yeah, it's just boost morale.
Yeah, absolutely. It's they were looked at in two different locker rooms, two different ways. The Eagles were probably looking at it as, wow, this is terrible. This is probably one of the worst. It feels like a loss to the Eagles. For the Bengals, it probably felt like a win for them. But it was all about, can they come out and they can build on that, because that's what you want to see them build. Something special happened with Cincinnati, and I'm sure we'll touch on it again later on in the show, and I'm sure you're happy about it, even though your team lost. Your fantasy team lost Woody one there. Joe Mixon showed up and showed out. Yeah, you disappointed.
You had to mention it.
Yeah, I did. Because I had to wonder, how did you lose with Joe Mixon being out there? Then I looked at
I had 140. Yeah, if I had one game on Monday, that was how he beat me. He had two players playing on Monday. I had none.
He put AJ Green and Larry Fitzgerald out there, and that's what crushed you.
Did I have Larry out there?
Yeah. I looked, man. I had to see what was happening because I wondered how you could lose with Joe Mixon on your team. I
Yeah.
just needed to see it myself. But on the bright side, as far as your actual team, greatest thing you can see.
Yes,
Because Joe Mixon is back, baby. He came balled out. He did what he needed to do. He dominated. He did what Joe Mixon can do.
Right.
We've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. Get that man the ball.
Yeah.
Great things happen. I understand that Joe Burrows is the future. Joe Burrows is the key.
I mean, we got Mixon for some years, so not only is Joe the future, but Mixon is too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
But I can understand where it's the running backs are more fickle because
right.
we want to keep him healthy as long as possible. He takes a hit almost every possession. So you lean more on Joe Burrows, but I thought that they needed to work a little more on the balance side. And they did that this week.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd, he's becoming the number one. So it's not necessarily, some of it's AJ Green trying to get his way back into it and figuring it all out. But the other half of that, coin is Tyler Boyd has taken over that spot. So as much as AJ Green needs to kind of get his way, and
I mean, AJ, he's just a name factor at this moment.
At this point, but he took a year off,
Yeah.
being hurt, so it's going to take him a minute to get into it. But as the Bengals' perspective, and AJ Green, he's a team player, and I'm sure he can attest to this too. He could care less about the targets and his stats and any of that. He could care less about your fantasy team, and he's destroying them because they got the W. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what a team player does. He just has to hope that Tyler Boyd continue, and I want Tyler Boyd to get the ball all the time
I know
because
you
he's
want
on
him.
my fantasy.
That's crazy. He got one catch, 3 yards.
By the way, I did win my game. Shout out to you, Tyler Boyd, if you're watching, my man. Appreciate you.
That's
Oh, you
crazy.
some Skyline if I run into you. But that's what you want to see from Bengals land because each week you see a receiver step up.
Right.
AJ Green, you don't really have to worry about. You need to know if T. Higgins can play. You need to know what Tyler Boyd can do with AJ Green, and who knows, that might be what's making Tyler Boyd be able to do what he does because it's one-on-one coverage all day with that man, and he's going to eat because he's a precise route runner. He has enough speed to get separation. Hands are great. He's the man for real. So if in another thing, that offensive line stepped up and they showed out this week.
The biggest notice is Fred Johnson and Bobby Hart was not out there at the same time. I know that much.
That helps.
I think they had Alex Redman right next to Bobby, so that kind of helped. Even though he was getting hit some, he still was, but not as much as he was.
Yeah, I mean it's about progress, and that's the theme of the Bengals season. A lot of it is about progress. So when you get a little bit of progress out of that, and you get your horses out there, and you start getting that cohesiveness, the Bengals can surprise a lot of people, and that's what I've always thought this year is that's what they may be. They may end up 5-11 or something like that, but they can have real good quality wins because the Bengals, when they're getting coached right, they're in pretty much every game. Like that's the beauty of it. So I mean, I like to see that.
I'm sorry. I'm mad he just pulled up in front of us with that Steelers mask on.
Well, you can come on in here and come get some if you want it. I'm offering it up every day, all day. You can come get some of this. Go around, we ain't scared at all. But we will talk about his team, but his team had to deal with the COVID issue. So they to me it's still like a game week for them because you can't get stagnant if you're the Steelers. You can't just say, well, man, we ain't gonna get to play this week. Let's just chill, rest up, whatever. You can look at it as a bye, which this turned into it. So you can't be too mad at them, but you still have to keep it crisp. You know what I mean? So at this, especially this early, I don't know how NFL teams generally feel, but I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't want to buy this early just because my body's not really. I mean, we had a couple games, but my body's not really been through a lot of stuff.
Especially like they getting 16 straight after this or 13 weeks straight. I can't remember.
Something like that, 12 or 13. So either way, and then you got to add in the factor of Big Ben. That's those bones. How is that going to respond? Because he may have needed it a lot more in week 7 or week 8. I think that's where their bye was. So he may have needed it a little bit more when that bye time was coming. Now you get it early. That may affect him in the long run. So it depends on how the Steelers use their bye time to be able to kind of get themselves together and find some cohesiveness and work on the stuff that they needed to work on. Because even though they were 3-0, I don't want to say it was fool's gold 3-0, but I'm not looking at them as being some dominant force. They have, they don't have no issues. Mainly Minka Fitzpatrick. Now, Minka Fitzpatrick last year he came in for the Steelers and He stepped the game up of the Steelers. He made them almost a playoff contender. That defense was for real when he came over there. This year, that he's taking a step back, and they gave up a lot for him. So if they're getting the Minka Fitzpatrick over the last couple years that he's been, and the potential All Pro guy and the big time talent, they're gonna be well off. If they're getting the average to below average Minka Fitzpatrick they got the first couple weeks, they're gonna be in a world of trouble. So I think that's something to look at. And even though they're 3-0, it's still a big concern considering how they're 3-0. I know you play who's on your schedule. I know you win the games that you have to win. But when you look at the way the Ravens handle the lesser teams, and you look at the way the Steelers handle the lesser teams, that's a big concern considering the Steelers are kind of playing down to the competition. So, I
All right.
mean, that's something to look forward to going forward. But we'll see how that adds up.
Okay. And since you were speaking on COVID, let's go and look at this COVID list because it actually does affect us. But there's about 17 players that I saw placed on this list, and most of them are in the AFC South with the AFC North plays for the inter conference games. And I think it's about I want to say 7 players, and I think 3 more just tested.
Hmm.
I know it's like 22 in all tested positive. Some of them being staff, but I know for when I looked at the list, it's about like 7 or 8 players on there, like Adam Humphries, Christian Fulton, Jeffrey Simmons, Cam Baston, Camel Correll, Tommy Hudson, Bo Brinkley, Daquan Jones, Greg uh, Mabin, Corey Davis, and Isaiah Wilson.
I'll tell you one thing. That's the team that can win a division. Pretty good football team of COVID guys. But I mean, I think it's something that I don't want to say you get used to it or you're going to
Right.
get used to it. It's going to fall down to how they get their protocols together and how safe, because that's what it boils down to. How safe are these players actually being when they're not on, in front of the view of the personnel of the teams, and when they're outside of the confines of their squad? What are they doing? How they're going about things? How are they keeping themselves safe? Everything that comes into play with that. So it's a level of responsibility that these athletes have to deal with. I understand, like, it sucks to be restricted, especially when you have everything. You know what I'm saying, or at least most of what you want or what you could need. For somebody who doesn't have much, it's not hard to say, well, just chill, don't do too much, stay at home, whatever, blah, skip. That's easy because you're broke. It ain't like you're
Right.
about to do anything anyway.
But I mean, the one thing is, it seems like they broke protocol and met up while they're supposed to be quarantined right now,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
and
Like,
that could like hurt it all together because if we gotta play that conference, then that's gonna affect us. Like right now, I want to say the Browns play the Colts this week, right?
yeah,
Had the Colts and Titans met yet?
not yet.
Okay. Well, I mean, eventually the Browns gotta play the Titans. If the Titans don't get it together, that could hurt the Browns or the Bengals or the Ravens.
It depends on how the NFL does it. Because if the NFL switches it up and they start to forfeit games, like I was hearing them talk about earlier about the Titans,
Right.
if they make the Titans forfeit, first of all, that stinks because you haven't lost a game yet. But if you forfeit, that counts as a L.
Yeah.
So I think it that's where to come into play at. Like if they continue to do this or this becomes a problem, they'll just instead of bye week, whatever, they'll forfeit. So it does affect us, but I think it depends on the way it goes. As long as we take care of what we take care of, just generally
Right.
as people, as long as we take care of what we take care of, we should be fine. Once you step out and you try to do too much or you're being extra, then that presents a problem. Like most of these players are, tending to do when they break the protocol. So it just boils down to responsibility. That's something that a lot of them don't want to have to deal with, even though with great power comes great responsibility. You literally hold the NFL and their team and hostage by doing something like that. It's not just you. They don't just toss you on the list.
Right.
They can shut down the games. You can cost your team way more than 15-yard penalty by doing something like that. So it's like,
Yeah, like I know I didn't mention the name, but Stephon Gilmore's on that list now.
yeah,
That's
hurts.
a big name for it. And also Cam is still on the list. That's a big name for the Patriots.
Yeah, your best offensive player, your best
Yeah.
defensive player.
And then the fact that him and Mahomes had dapped hands at the end of their game, Stephon Gilmore and Mahomes, so that could hurt Mahomes.
Well, it depends
Kansas
on
City.
how they do their protocols.
Right.
Because if you were tested before the game and you did everything right or whatever, then if you're on the field, like they should have it like that. There's no way that you're on the field if you haven't been tested directly before that. We know where your quarantine's at or whatever the case may be. Again, that goes to the protocols and the responsibilities of the franchises and the players. It's the franchise responsibility to put the players, the protocols out there for the players to follow. It's the players, job to follow that protocol. So if you get tested and then you quarantine like you're supposed to, you can play that game. And I don't, man, if you want to party afterwards or whatever, do it smart and responsible. Wear a mask. Be safe. Have it at the confines of your own
I
home.
don't think it work like that, T.
I'm talking about hanging with your teammates. Like,
Wait, what you mean?
if you want to party, kicking it with your people, you already with your people. You quarantine with your teammates.
So you want them to be masked up, still partying though?
If that's what you want to do, I'm saying if you want to find a way to do what you want to do, you have a home during the week. You can party with your teammates. You can kick it with your core people, the people your family, all that. You can do that after the games, but before the games, that's when you need to get your quarantine together, your test. I'm saying you test them, they go into quarantine, then you have whatever Monday, whatever throughout the week, the game week. That's time if you want to hang out, you want to party, you want to do something. You don't have to go anywhere. One, you're rich, or you're well off. You can party at home. You can wear a mask and do all that at the crib if you want to be extra safe. If you want to party with teammates and do that, you can do that. But it's just ways to hang out, ways to eat out, ways to party, ways to do stuff responsibly still. It's even you look at the way the world is going, the world is opening up. You can go into a restaurant right now. You just have to wear a mask. Some of the rules are silly. I get it. But you can still do some of that stuff at home. You know what I'm saying? Like there's protocols. These players they get tested before their practices, but you still see them out there with the mask on because they're being extra careful. There's nothing wrong with being extra careful so you can have a full season. You can be able to get your paychecks. You can be able to do what you want to do.
I mean, so at best you just saying Tennessee's not being extra careful.
No, they're probably just kicking it. They're probably out there getting some brisket, doing a couple line dances.
Some brisket.
Get some brisket. I don't know. I just feel like Titans, they like brisket. Like it is what it is.
All I know is we kind of saw this coming back when there was no games and we didn't know what was going to happen and we was like coaches over there saying Roger Goodell had nothing in place and it seems like he still has nothing in place.
It's playing it by ear. It just kind of when it happens we talk about it.
Right.
We deal with it when it comes, but it may come at the expense of your season too. So we got to tread carefully, but it's a responsibility of everybody. You know what I'm saying? So we just have to see how that goes, man. But I mean, I'm not super worried about it, just because I mean, if you thought the NBA bubble, it can't be the end all be all of how things are supposed to be because they literally bubbled them in. Right. Football can't do that, So I always felt like it was going to be some cases here and there, but again, that goes back to how you handle these protocols, how you handle it when it comes up. When a situation like the Cam Newton, you can have Cam Newton test positive and shut the whole season down, or let's just shut the week down or move games around or whatever. They moved the game another day. That's all they really did. They moved it to Monday. Now we have a doubleheader. Everybody wins, but it's about the protocol. If they didn't have none, like me personally, I felt like they should have had a 20-week season. That way, if you would have did that, you have room to kind of maneuver by games, by weeks, or whatever.
I mean, that kind of works into what Adam was saying. How he said he thinks it doesn't stack up logistically. Like you get what I mean?
As far as what 20 weeks?
Yeah, as far as 20 weeks, seeing as they only play 16 games, like how does that really stack up?
Well, I'm saying you leave that at the end of the season, and if nothing,
so you saying just leave that possibility?
Yeah,
well, they got 17 weeks actually. But you leave the possibility of 20 weeks, and you just add buys when you need to add buys.
That's all I mean. You know what I'm saying? So It's like, say, because usually you have the last game, and then the very next week it's the playoffs. It's the division round. First two teams had a bye or whatever. Instead of doing that, push 3 weeks onto that, which would generally take away the playoff spot. Right. So let's say you don't have to buy anybody. All right, well, those 3 weeks now become the playoff 3 weeks, like they originally would have became. If you have to have a bye like Tennessee and Pittsburgh, instead of having to move Pittsburgh's bye, you could just say, all right, this will be considered one bye, and then week 17 or week 18, you play Tennessee. That's the makeup game for that one. That way, because you can that situation worked out because buys you can kind of move some stuff around and happen early enough. But some situations may come around where you can't move a game because the buy has already came about.
Right.
So what if you know what I'm saying? What if a buy comes and you can't move it around? Well, if you have that extra week, now you can throw that game there. Problem solved.
Because like I think on it, I think it's split between like week 6 and week 8. Because I want to say Pittsburgh had their bye week 8.
I think it was 7 or 8 because I know the Ravens game gets moved, but then you still have to move the Ravens game. Like
Right.
who were they originally supposed to play? Now that they're playing the Steelers, you know what I'm saying? Like it can work out now, but if it becomes more of an issue, that's where the extra 3 weeks would have came into play at. And again, if you don't use them, okay, let's start the playoffs now. We have these weeks available. It just depends on where we put what we put. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's just again, it's a unique situation. It's a different kind of season. You can't necessarily go with what always worked. The baseball season they was cut short. Basketball season technically was cut short. The NFL wants to have a full season. Well, to be able to have a full season, you're going to have to either extend your season by a couple weeks, or you're going to have to do something to make it where you can make up that time, or you're going to have to shorten how many games some teams play. You know, if you're going to have to eliminate a game, then some team might have to be 1 or 2 games short. But how does that work in the standings? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many what ifs that, again, like Coach said, those things aren't. It's not a plan in place that you have together to take care of these kind of problems. That's what needs to be taken care of before anything.
All right. Okay. So we about to go on a quick break. When we come back, we will be talking that week 4 matchups. We're gonna start with the Browns and Dallas, and then we also gonna talk about Nick Chubb's injury.
Browns and Dallas, I'm happy to talk about it. Browns and Dallas, I'm happy to talk about it. Go to break.
I low-key try to
Can't
stop
dance
him
this
from doing
long.
all that. That's crazy. But now we back, so let's talk these Browns and Dallas. That spanking they gave the Cowgirls.
Ooh-wee. Let me tell you something, man. There was this as a Browns fan, you see so many ways to lose games. I mean, it's kind of like at this point they create ways to lose games. I mean, you have pretty much seen it all,
Yeah.
and that's how you know this Browns team this year is a lot different than typical Browns teams because old Browns teams lose that game this Sunday. The Browns were up big. I think it was 42-14 at one time.
Yeah, it was like 41-14 going into the 4th.
And then Dallas stormed back.
Like they normally do.
Yeah. Most other years, the Browns fold. Browns probably lose by 10. Just because that fourth quarter, Dallas couldn't be stopped. And that fourth quarter still, Dallas couldn't get stopped. But they couldn't stop us either.
Right.
So it became legitimately the next man up. Mr. Johnson came and stepped in. Hilliard came and had a couple carries when Chubb went out.
And he's out for some weeks now.
6 weeks. And that speaks to Stump Mitchell and the way he has that running back room together because you can always say next man up, but let's be for real, man. It ain't always gonna work that
Right.
way. We can lead a set right now. They can bring two more people in there. They won't have it what we have. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what we do. You can't just bring any Joe Schmo in here and do that. That's the same thing that applies to football.
All right.
But they did it. You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty of this Browns team. Last year even maybe they would have brought in the backup for Chubb. He would have fumbled. Dallas would have took it back 70 yards, whatever, touchdown. Game over. This year, whoever, Dallas can't stop nobody. Right. Not because, and I've seen this a lot with the national media. It's Dallas lost. Dallas sucks. Nah, man. Cleveland's good. Just go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it.
I mean, look, I don't like them, but I hate Pittsburgh more. But Cleveland real good.
That's what you have to be, though. And you have to get the ball into your playmakers' hands. It's no surprise here that the Browns did a whole lot better when Odell Beckham touched the ball. I mean, who would have thought it? It's the craziest thing to think about. You put the ball in your playmakers' hands, fun things happen. And that's what, I don't know if it was a Dallas thing, because Odell kills Dallas. But
that's why I'm hoping about AJ and the Ravens.
Yeah. Some teams you just have some teams' numbers.
Yeah.
But it was just the way that they went about it. It was the most impressive thing to me because they could have folded and they didn't. And it wasn't even just this week. Last week with the Redskins, it was the same kind of thing. That fourth quarter, the Browns were down. Most years they lose that game, and then it sucks the life out of you because you lost to some bums, and you lost to some bums who pretty much handled that game. The Browns didn't let that happen. They're telling you this ain't the same old Browns. It seems like that's what the national media covers it as the same old Browns. They don't do their research. They're doing the Stephen A. Smith thing. We're not checking facts. We're not doing our due diligence. We're just looking at the box score, looking at Dallas, looking at Stephen A. and saying, well, Stephen A. says Dallas sucks. Dallas must suck. Hey, the Browns didn't do good. Dallas stunk up the joint and giving us no credit.
I don't get why he still hates Dallas.
Because he can only read a few different names. That's it.
I'm just like, Skip's not there no more. What's the point of laughing at Dallas?
Because he's I don't want to call him a one trick pony, but he's like a 3-trick pony. There's not much he's doing. He doesn't, like I said, he doesn't do his research. Like Stephen A. To me, he's the definition of ESPN and the casuals. I read the headlines, not the story. It's no different than the Facebook stuff, where you just see people read the headlines. They don't click on the articles. They don't know if it's real or not. They don't fact check. They don't do none of that. That's how Stephen A. goes about stuff. So it's just like, well, if I mention the Yankees, people will click on it. If I mention the Dallas Cowboys, people will click on it. It's whack, but that's how ESPN goes about stuff. They cover 4 or 5 teams, the big market teams. They try to show love to the casual fans, and they can care less about the actual real fans. So it's that's why he goes about it, because it's all a ratings pool. He doesn't watch the games for real. I honestly can tell by when I listen to him talk. He doesn't watch the games for real.
He probably watched the highlights.
He watches the highlights. He looks at the box score. That's it. If he does that. But
unless he's ringside or something.
He's barely that. I still think he's paying that much attention. But to me, that's how the national media goes about it. Is just it can't be Cleveland being good. It has to be Dallas sucking.
Right.
But at some point, it's going to be undeniable to the fact that the Browns are a good team. The Browns aren't one of those teams that get punched in the mouth and run anymore. They hit you after you hit them, and they're going to keep hitting you. So it's something that if you're a Browns fan or a player or any rooting interest on the team, you're feeling great about it. But as a Browns fan, you're still cautiously optimistic because you know the Browns are still the Browns until they continue to prove it. Like I need to, me, I'm always I need to continuously see it before I believe it. But at this pace, doing what we have to do, especially coming back from that week 1. I said it after that happened. You got to hope as the Browns, this is the worst it's going to be. That game was you throw it away. This is trash. Let's not have this happen anymore. It all happens at once. Let's not make sure it happens again. So the next 3 weeks, they did not do that. But again, none of that matters if you get to Indianapolis and you stink up the joint. So you have to keep that momentum, especially with Nick Chubb being out. That next man up can work out that way for one game, but you have to sustain that success going forward. So I'm looking for him to do that.
Also, not to rain on your parade, but Nick Chubb is the only one out, but it seems Odell has been limited with a toe injury. So he's limited in Wednesday's practice. Well, he was limited in Wednesday's practice with a toe injury. Kareem Hunt was limited with a groin injury. Adrian Claiborne with hip. Jacob Phillips with knee. J.C. Trader with knee. Greedy Williams with shoulder. They all were limited. And Trey Davis, Sheldon Richardson, and Larry Ojanabi. They did not practice.
So you telling me Odell been hanging out with Tory Lanez?
That's crazy,
man.
Hold up. You can't just say that and go past that, man.
Jeez. But anyway, I woke up this morning questionable. back problem. Knee, toe.
You're an old man though.
I'm saying though.
Some of them are in their 20s.
My point being is I'm here today, ain't I?
Right.
They'll be there on Sunday.
More than likely they will, but Greedy been out for a minute. Now he got a shoulder injury.
He better eat some Wheaties and a man shake real fast, because I don't know what's up with his brittle bones. But
then y'all gonna need Sheldon Richardson and Larry Ojanabi.
Yeah, but I think it's just kind of one of those things where you just have to put it on the injury report until they're ruled out. Especially practice. Like sometimes that's just the nature of the beast. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the trenches.
Yeah. Mixon had a chest injury. He went to the hospital on Saturday. Came Sunday and he balled out. So.
Yeah, definitely. So
you never know what may happen.
it's stuff that you know what I mean. If we had to put our ailments on paper every day before we walked in here, then it'll say that with us. You know what I mean? Like these are football players. This is what they do. They'll be all right. So I'm not too much worried as long as they're here to play on Sunday or Monday or Thursday whenever we play. I'm all good with it.
Also, Kevin Stefanski said on the Colts defense that team speed, effort, and DeForest Buckner was a great addition for them playing their three technique. He gets up the field. He is long, active. The linebacker core can really run. Like he said, they are sound. They did not beat themselves. They are where they're supposed to be. Really impressive on tape. Seems like he's taking it serious.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, the Colts are a good team. They're not.
I mean, I'm not saying like he wouldn't take it serious, but it's like he's going into this with the right mindset, which we know from last year. Freddie Kitchens never really went into
No,
it with the right mindset.
that's because he was dumb dilly dum dum.
Yeah, that's
That's
why.
why.
That's why when I look at this Browns team, I'm not. I'm like, it's kind of the same way I look at my Bengals. I'm like, okay, they could be for real. They could be a threat. They could be a weapon because they actually got like an adult in the room, basically. Like Logan likes to say, like there's an adult in the room. Kevin Stefanski is an adult. He's not trying to be buddy buddy. He's not trying to show out, show up, or just be a clown, basically, like Freddie Kitchens was at last year. So
Freddie Kitchens was what happens when you reward mediocrity. Um, he made a sucky team less sucky.
all right.
We were still a sucky team though, and he was rewarded with the job for being a little less sucky. That doesn't work at all, especially for no sustained success type of thing. The Browns second guessed themselves last year. Kevin Stefanski was the runner up. That's all we're doing this year is making up for something that we screwed up on last year.
Right.
We rode that average horse as much as we could. We could ride it. Now Freddie Kitchens is over there flipping burgers somewhere, reevaluating his life, and that's his own problem because he tried to be the smartest guy in the room when in reality he was the dumbest guy in the room. Kevin Stefanski knows who he is. He's a smart coach. He's a coach that knows what he's doing. He's a coach that's been here before, not at the head coach level, but as far as the locker rooms, he's been able to get the best out of offenses year in and year out, and he's a great communicator.
I mean, like to look at it, the Vikings are what 1-3 right now.
Yeah, now, yeah,
Like he ran that whole offense. Now
Mhm.
they 1-3. The Browns are 3-1.
Yep.
Seems like y'all got something over there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because he's a leader of men, though. You know what I'm saying? Like that comes with that. Like you always are going to be as good as the leader that you have. You can look at it, any situation from the way the world is ran to a job. If your leadership sucks, the rest of everything else is going to suck. If you have a great leader that's going to help get the best out of their team and rally the troops, you're going to get the best out of that. So it's always about who you bring into your life in any type of capacity, especially with sports teams, because you're trying to get people to play on the string. You're trying to get one band, one sound kind of thing. And Kevin Stefanski is able to get that. I think full well, and especially you can see of how they responded after week one, because you can look at week one and say, all right, they got blown out. You can look at that head coach and be like, here we go again, another one of these, another bum that you know what I'm saying, like
Right.
that could be a thing. But they said, nah, we're gonna roll off three straight and show that we riding with him. And I watched the Building the Browns yesterday, and they talked a little bit about how their mentality was after that week one. And their mentality pretty much was, I wish we could play tomorrow. We mad. You know what I'm saying? We ready to go out there and show what we can do. And that's what practice was like that whole next week, I can imagine. And they came out and they showed it. They didn't start pointing fingers, blaming everybody. I see Jarvis smacking people on the helmet, getting them together. You know what I'm saying? Odell's he's excited. We suck now. We got blown out, but I'm still happy about what we're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? He called it
Right.
a crap show, for lack of better words. You know what I'm saying? Like he knew what we had in the locker room, and Jarvis Landry said it himself. We have a better team in this locker room than what we came out there and showed, and he was right. And they came out and they showed that. But again, that goes to not just your head leader with Stefanski, but his captains and how they follow his lead and they can lead others because you need that to run the football team. So I mean, I'm ecstatic about what we're seeing, and even better, it was against the Cowboys, which is quote unquote America's team, and they have to deal with the fact that they stink and we don't. So even though I'm not a Cowboy hater, it's still funny to see that kind of sweat trickle down their cheeks.
All
Cool
right.
with it.
So we were talking week 4 matchups, right?
Yeah, buddy.
All right. So let's talk Bengals Jags.
That was what you have to do. Um, it's the building kind of thing that's been happening with the Bengals. Like there was never a blowout the first couple games.
Right. We were always close.
Yeah.
But it was looking like last year because we were always close last year.
But that's again they're in a kind of same boat, different boat as the Browns.
Right.
Where we have to think about last year, but we have to kind of maneuver around like it's not last year. Every time something bad happens, a loss comes. Oh well, other years Cincinnati Bengals is gonna come out and lay an egg.
Yeah.
This week, all right, that last week it was let's come out and we get a tie. That sucks for them. Let's come out and blow somebody out. Didn't work that way, but for the Bengals having a nice 11-point win.
Yeah, I think so. It was.
I want to say 11. I think it was double digits if I'm not mistaken. But it's a pretty substantial for the Bengals kind of win because
it was 33-25.
33-25. It's pretty good. 8 points. That's
It's about 8 points.
It's a pretty good win for them though because yeah, Jacksonville scored late. That's right. It was not a wire win, but there was times where the Bengals could have tucked their tail in and kind of ran. You know what I'm saying? And
like the biggest thing is we improved on that run blocking.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's always going to be the story because the quarterback room, you had to worry about Joe Burrows at the beginning of the season because you didn't know, especially with COVID, young quarterback, rookie quarterback, first year expectations, bad O line, how he was going to respond. Now you see what kind of quarterback he is. And again, that might have been part of Zach Taylor's whole philosophy. Let's just feed him passes the first couple weeks. Let's work on this run blocking and move some things around. That way we can start building the actual team. It ain't no different than how you start at practice week. Like you don't throw everything at them on Monday or Tuesday. You gradually build the first couple of days, you install the defense or something. Next couple of days you might install the offense. Then you figure out how you're gonna run, what's the first 15 plays you're gonna run. It's a process that you need to kind of get started, and the Bengals kind of went that route with the way that they ran their team over the last couple weeks. Now it's just about how they build because Jacksonville is a team that you should beat,
right?
But I don't think the Bengals are. I'm betting on the Bengals kind of stage yet either.
Right, like it was a 50-50 game.
Yeah, absolutely, because the Jaguars were pretty much in the same spot, but they should be ahead of the Bengals as far as the curve of where they were last year to where they are.
To where they are now.
They should be, but they're not necessarily. So I think it was just one of them. It's easy to say, well, you're the Ravens, you need to beat the teams that you should beat. Browns, Steelers, you beat the teams that you need to beat. For the Bengals, it's even more important because you don't know when the wins is going to come.
Right.
You're like the Bengals are like the broke kid with I don't know where my next meals will come from, or that broke person I don't know what I'm gonna eat. You know what I'm saying? Like you better eat when that dinner is there. You better eat what's on that table. Otherwise, you can eat this whole day. So if you don't beat the Jaguars, I don't know who they got this week, but
we got the Ravens this week.
That don't look like no win. Now, I mean, you can shock the world. Like I said earlier, the Bengals look like that team that they may win 4 or 5 games, but they have some good wins.
It's like I've been saying since the start of this podcast. That's a trap game.
I get it, but hey, you got to follow suit of what you do. If it's a trap game, and if you think that, the Bengals need to think that.
Right.
The Bengals need to put their helmet on, thinking they're going to beat the Ravens, and if they can go out there and beat them,
and especially like Lamar, he was like yesterday, he was limited with a knee injury. Now I'm not saying that he won't play, because he probably will, but that knee's it's gonna hurt him at some point.
You gotta get to him too. That's the thing about Lamar. So I mean, but again, that's why that win against the Jaguars was so important, because you're not staring down the barrel of continuously losses on losses on losses. We talked about it last week. They needed to follow the Browns' blueprint of when we were 0-16. That first win, that first non-loss was a tie. The Browns tied before they actually won a game. That very next game was a win. The Bengals had to do the same thing. It's just that tie sucks. It's not what we wanted, but sometimes you have to deal with that to be able to come about and
Right.
get your
Like
W.
that
So
tie, it doesn't truly change the whole locker room, but it boosts your morale a little bit because you play good against a team that, even though they're not playing good this year, they won their division the last few years.
yeah,
So it's like you play that team hard, you play that team good. Now you got to come out and play another team, and you got to dominate them, and that's what we did.
they needed to. They had to feel like they should have beat the Eagles, and I think that's what they felt when they left that. Like
Right.
we're okay with it. We should have beat them. Come out there and you prove it. And you just keep building, keep building. So even to me, I'm looking for like if they don't beat the Ravens, they need to at least
Look
not get
good.
blown out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I'm not a big fan of moral victories and participation trophies and nothing like that. But in some cases, you just understand different things mean different things. So as long as they can, kind of figure that out, they'll be all right.
Right. And Lamar Jackson, he talked about Joe Burrow, and he said, I like his game. Obviously, he broke records for passing yards in consecutive weeks. That's dope, but I don't wish him success against us. I want to win. So it seems, obviously, it seems like Lamar's going to be playing. Seems like he's watching Joe, he's studying Joe, and he likes what he sees, but he knows he's going to come out and play his hardest and try to win. And that's what I like to see in competition.
You gotta be. I mean, it's a lot to like about Joe.
Yeah, because this division is stacked with talented quarterbacks, to be honest.
That's why the Bengals can't really hold their head, low depending on how the season unfolds. Because it's just you have to get to that spot because it's the division. If you put the Bengals out there in the NFC East, they have a chance to win that division.
Hey, we taking that.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of I don't say it's unfortunate because it builds character. And at some point, your time will come. But these games right now will help going forward. It may not do nothing for you this year, but Joe Burrow's going forward will be a lot better because he plays in the division that he plays in. You know what I mean? So it's good to see though. I mean, if I'm a Bengals fan, forget the record, I'd be ecstatic just because we have a direction.
Yes, sir. That's what I am. I'm ecstatic. We got a We got a direction. We know where we're going. We know who's going to run this offense. We know we got a running back that's reliable.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's just that O line, but the O line looked decent this time.
You're going to be a team that's going to be flawed. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, you won 2 games last year, so it's the O line's going to have to continuously be addressed, and that's going to be a theme of the whole year. It's going to be mix and match, try to get that unit. As long as Jonah Williams is there, that's really what you have to look for. Is who's our long term pieces on this roster? Do we got one? Do we got two? Do we got three? Like who's going to be here when the Bengals are good? Jonah Williams is a guy that you expect to be that, but that to me is your one solid piece that you know is going to be there for years to come. Outside of that, it's mixing and matching. So that may just like they went chunky on the defensive line this year, they may do the same thing next year with the offensive line. And this is the Bengals window too because Joe Burrow is under a rookie contract. So if they're going to spend big on some hog mollies, they're going to have to do it this year. So looking forward to seeing that.
Also, Jay Slayman, who's a top fan of ours, said Cincinnati would win if they had an offensive line. I think he might be talking about the Ravens game, or he could be talking about the Eagles game. I have no clue, but he makes a point. We will win a lot more if we had an offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just touched on.
I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
You can't build it all
it
after
was
that.
destroyed
So.
in the day, but
Yeah, absolutely. But if you can, if you can leave this season and say, I have less holes going out than I had coming in,
right,
we're good. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
most definitely after 14 season
yeah,
watching
you're halfway there to your win total already. So
early in the season,
who they
need one more.
do
Who
your
they
thing?
nation. So let's talk Ravens, Washington. That
Well,
should be easy. They should have won that.
they are who we thought they are. Poor Dwayne Haskins, buddy. Man,
He shouldn't have been benched at all.
man,
That don't make no sense.
man.
And then I just saw an article that said he's learning the offense on the fly, and it's like that whole organization just need to be burned down. To be honest,
He not gonna help the Buckeyes quarterback conversation. Like that's always been a knock is the Buckeyes quarterbacks coming to the NFL. Dwayne,
I mean, we could give everything else: running backs, receivers. I mean, you see it: Zeke top running back, Mike Thomas top receiver, Denzel Ward the top cornerback. I mean, Patrick Queen could be something as a top linebacker, but we got a lot of
there's a little bit of everything out there,
a little
but
bit of everything.
that quarterback, eesh. But I mean, I'm not gonna say that he got benched because of what the Ravens did because
I mean, definitely not. He
It's
got
just
like 900 yards, about what, more TDs and interceptions right now.
yeah, I don't. I mean, but it's I always seen that coming because of a you brought in
Kyle Allen.
that was I mean it was the coach first. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like brought the Ron Rivera in, so that already told me one he didn't draft you. Two, he's a defensive guy, so it's what you're looking for Dwayne Haskins to be. And from all accounts, Washington didn't necessarily want him the year they drafted him. They just ended up getting talked into it by Dan Snyder.
All right.
If those are to be true, I'm not big on reports alone unless they come with who the source is. But that was the talk of that. But when you bring Ron Rivera in there, he already. I'm not married to you. I don't. We don't have no ties together. He didn't say he took the job because of none of that. So when you add that, and then you bring in Kyle Allen. I mean, why would you bring in a quarterback that you know you love and you can trust? That's like bringing in your ex girlfriend to be a babysitter. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not gonna go over well with the wife. She ain't gonna like it. You know what I'm saying? And you telling the wife, well, you better stay on your A game every day. You're gonna be replaced. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. So I mean, but at the end of the day, I'm not playing no violin for Dwayne Haskins because you have a job to do. You can't get bitch if you're too good. You got to make them not be able to bench you. To me, it was an easy decision. The shocking thing is that they didn't put Alex Smith out there, but when you think about it,
Yeah, that's a shocking name to me too.
Alex Smith is probably you got to think not too long ago the man couldn't walk.
Right.
So I think it's more so it's a win that you're putting on a helmet and you're putting on shoulder pads and you're getting some practice. But I think he's going to have to continuously have people coming at that leg. He's going to continuously have to get some practice reps, kind of like RG3. If RG3 had to come in that very next year after he was hurt, he would probably not be. He's still a backup, but he's one of the better backups out here. You know what I'm saying? Teddy Bridgewater, the same thing. You have to kind of be a backup. You have to get the practice reps because they mean more. It's
Yeah,
like
like
game
get your
reps for
fill
me.
in before you start
Yeah,
again.
I mean, he was laying down for a while, but you couldn't walk. So now to be able to play football within around that same kind of calendar year, it ain't the time for that.
So,
So
right.
they just have him holding the clipboard. That's another step. So good for him, but
Yeah.
that was a shock. But I think Washington is not. They're kind of still planning for the future too. So kudos to them for at least making something happen and not being okay with mediocre.
All right. Yeah. And before we go on, just to say about Haskins, I mean, I just really think he needs to go somewhere, be behind a quarterback that knows how to win, like sit behind Ben Roethlisberger at best.
I mean, if I'm Tampa Bay, I might throw a mid round pick at Washington to see if I can have him back up Tom
Tom Brady.
Brady.
Yeah.
Like I
I
don't
just
see
feel
where that
like
hurts.
once he learns under an experienced quarterback, he could be something. 'Cause it's not like he was holding Washington back.
No,
They just got nothing over there, to be honest.
it's a confidence thing. I mean, you're not my guy. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not my guy, I'm kind of looking for you to screw up because the moment you do, yoink, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
He ended up giving me one of these. He put the glasses down and everything. come take a seat. I mean, that's the nature of the game.
Right.
He don't have an argument. He can't say, "Well, I'm treated unfairly." Nah, bro. It is what it is. Just win, baby.
You got nothing. You went out there and tried to win. But that's all you had to say. Nothing on the Ravens at all. They did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, man. I
Mostly
mean,
Washington they had to get the focus on.
like, I mean, they did what they had to do. I mean, pretty much. Like, I can go into the specifics. Yeah, they ran the ball out of the throw. Lamar Jackson looked like a star. He did what he does.
Right.
But it's still the Redskins.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the Washington football team.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you gotta beat the teams that, like you said, you stacked up against, not the teams that you look down on or whatever.
Yeah, and it wasn't really dominant. I mean, it was a good win. It was a spaced out win, but it was just kind of not really playing down to their competition. But it was I'm not really trying to demolish you either.
Right, like just on, like you said, it was just coasting.
Yeah,
But
so
speaking on Lamar, he says that his progress, he's trying to progress. He said he sees it as a work in progress. Well, he's talking about his relationship or his chemistry with Marquise Brown or Hollywood Brown. He sees it as a work in progress. They're getting better every week. not just himself but the team, the whole team and all. And he's just trying to develop that, make Marquise Brown his number one receiver because he really don't have one, to be honest. I mean, Willie Snead, yeah, but how long is Willie Snead gonna be a number one? Truly,
Really, Mark Andrews is number one.
yeah, true.
Like, and that run game is his number 1B. And his legs is 1C. You know where I'm at with him as a quarterback. Like I get that he has some video game numbers and all of that, but at the end of the day, I'm still taking my chances with him dropping down and not dropping down, dropping back and throwing the ball. If Lamar Jackson's throwing the ball 50 times, I consider that a win for whoever's defense that I have. So I mean, you need Hollywood Brown to kind of step up, but that man probably need a sandwich at this point. He's still frail to me. Like I don't care what he put on 23 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, he put on 23.
He's still frail to me.
Man, y'all probably like the same weight.
So thank you. You think I'm an NFL wide receiver? I appreciate you. Let me go try out tonight.
That's crazy.
Call me, Browns.
Also, I forgot to mention Burrow said about Joe Burrow said about the upcoming match with the Ravens. He said we feel it. Well, he's saying about the momentum that they got. They feel it. Feel a lot of momentum. They're happy where they are right now, and they're up for the challenge. So I'm hoping that'd be a great game. Honestly,
I mean, but everybody's feeling good about this week's game before this week's game. So yeah. We'll see.
So we go on a quick break, come back, and we will talk. What is it? Upcoming games, week 5. We'll finish that.
We'll be back.
We'll be back. All right, and we are back. I know y'all saw those theater people and Mojo's commercials. Make sure y'all hit Mojo Sports Care, get your sports care, and hit theater people. They'll install. I mean, you hear the number. They'll install a lot for you. You know the number, everything. That was crappy promo.
I wouldn't even deal with the theater people. And we deal with the theater people. Listen to you. Hit the theater people up. Get your connection together.
That is crazy.
They'll hook you up.
And I got like
Look, I done gave them a slogan, everything. They'll hook you up.
Hey, way better than what I was doing because I got voices in my ear. It was hard to hear. I'm discombobulated.
Get it together.
But let's end it off with these upcoming games. So we mentioned the Browns and Colts. We mentioned the Ravens and Bengals. I guess we got the Steelers and Eagles next. That's who they play. But I put a question mark on that because are they playing?
They should be. I think it's the COVID. I don't know, man. Really, I mean, don't.
No one's on that COVID list, but at the same time, it's like I don't know.
One day you're here, the next you're not. I don't. I'm just like Sunday. I know where I'll be. Whoever's on that TV, that's what I'm watching.
Yeah, I know Sunday where I'll be. I'll be watching the Bengals at 1 p.m. Hopefully they on CBS again.
We'll see. But as far as that, the Steelers and Eagles.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a must win for the Eagles. So at this point,
they're coming off a win too.
Yeah, but the way that division is at this point, it's more so you want to get as many wins as you can, especially when they're with 1, 2, and 1. You got to make that tie look more like a win at this point. You know what I'm saying? So I think that they're 7-9, 8-8, 9-7 area for that winner of that division. So I think if you're Philly, you're too good of a team to look at Pittsburgh as they should be a better team than you. Like, forget the records. Eagles still have a pretty good roster. They have a pretty good team. They still have Carson Wentz out there. So they have a good chance to win that game. This is, to me, why it is a must win because you have to stay in that division race. Like Washington and New York, even though they're mathematically still in it, it's going to come down to Dallas and Philadelphia. So the more you have a chance to beat the quality teams, which I mean, this is your shot right now. If you're Philly, you have to beat them. You have to, if you're Philly, you have to look at Bengals as that tie. It hurts you because that needed to be a win in your column. Like you need to be able to especially at such a great division like that, the AFC North, you need to be able to get the wins that are quality. You know, it's no BCS or it's no voting, playoff committee or none of that that's going to necessarily level that. But for your own psyche, you need to come out and feel like you can beat anybody. Because if you beat Pittsburgh, no matter what their record ends up being, you gave them their first L.
All right.
That does a lot for your confidence, and that does a lot for y'all being in the same state. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't hurt to have
You gotta
that.
hate them in-state rivalries.
Yeah, it's like a mini rivalry that's happening right there. So if you can come out and you can win, that does a good thing for your fan base. That hurts the Steelers too because they need to be in an arms race, which makes this a must win for them too. It's a big game for both squads because Pittsburgh can't afford to not keep pace. You're dealing with two other teams that are 3-1 that you're going to have to play 4 times now. So they need to be able to win the out of conference games that they were just served up 3 of them early out the gate, easy. So they should look at this Philadelphia game as potentially another easy one where they can come out there and establish their dominance.
I mean, when you look at it, the AFC North is way better than the NFC East. And if the top team in the NFC East couldn't even beat the less team in the AFC North as Pittsburgh, you should be looking at it as this is an easy dub. Let's not take them. Let's take them serious, but let's not. Basically, they should be like how the Ravens were with Washington. Let's coast. Let's go out there, play our ball, play our game, but let's not like demolish them.
It's different, like because the Ravens, I feel like they could have threw, um, not even just RG3 out there. They probably could have put their backups out there.
You're talking about they could have put Trace McSorley out there.
They could have beat the Redskins either way. So I think it's just kind of it's Philly has to feel like they're close to where Pittsburgh is. Like I don't look at Pittsburgh. Yeah, you are what your record is. You're 3-0. You're undefeated. Hooray! But I don't look at that 3-0 as being the same as let's say Kansas City's 4-0.
All right.
That it's a whole different look to it. I need to see you look impressive. I need to see you be dominant. I think Ravens were just bored. There's no reason to get up for this game. They have enough disarray. If you take away whatever disarray that Washington had on the football field, they have enough disarray to make you lose a game just by how they react as all the drama they've been through. Their name is the Washington football team. What kind of default stuff is that? You know what I'm saying? Like It's hard to wake up for that game, and that's supposed to kind of be like a low-key rivalry too, which makes it even worse. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they both in the DMV.
Yeah, it's the same. You know what I mean? But it wasn't that big of a deal. So it means something different to Pittsburgh and Philly because these games mean a lot. And if Pittsburgh can come out, Dallas is 1-3 right now. But that was looked at as a great win from the Browns because Dallas, just because you are disappointing as far as your record, don't mean that you don't have the talent to beat anybody. Dallas absolutely can beat anybody. Right. Same thing with Philly. They are not that far removed from being actual champions. You know what I mean? Like that last year was a disappointment. Even though they made the playoffs, they were a disappointment. They need to at some point prove, especially with that fan base in Philly, that they can come out and they can dominate. They can be a good team. And you only do that by beating another good team.
All right.
So we'll see how they come out. But I'm going to be very interested to see how that game is, and again how Pittsburgh responds off of being on a bye. They should be, to me, firing on all cylinders because they had all that time off. Now, where was their mind at? Was their mind on things they could control, like their playbook, or was their mind on things they couldn't control, like the COVID crisis, and not being able to play that week? You can get the news and be like, well, man, I was all pumped up and I was ready to play, and now I can't play. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, it kind of seemed like that. A lot of players come out like I forgot which player it was, but he said one team's misfortune. Well, one team's something is another team's misfortune or something. Let me look it up.
Well, I mean,
it was Vance McDonald. He said one team's blunder is another one's misfortune. So it seems like at least some players are still focused on that COVID game.
Yeah, I mean, you could be salty all you want about it, but at the end of the day, you have to go out there and play what's on your schedule and deal with the things you have to deal with. It's no like this is football. You can practice all week long. You can put out whatever plays you want to run all week long. At some point in time, you're going to have to navigate differently on that football field because everything's not going to work in your favor. That's the problem with the modern athletes a lot nowadays anyway. They want everything to be in their favor and then want to sit here and talk about how hard it was to win. No, it wasn't. Everything worked in your favor. How hard was it to do when you had everything served up to you on a platter. You know what I'm saying? So quit crying about it. Deal with what you have to deal with. At the end of the day, you ain't the only one that has to deal with the COVID crisis. The entire freaking planet has to deal with the COVID crisis. The COVID crisis. Every time I feel something on my head, I think I gotta fly on it.
All right, bro. All right, Mike Pence.
Make sure the only fly on me is me. Hey.
But Juju Smith-Schuster says he's planning on COVID-friendly celebration with fans. So
that means he's planning on getting in the end zone.
He plans on getting in the end zone, but after that end zone, who knows what he about to do? He about to try to jump in the stands.
What's that Mike Tyson quote? Everybody got a plan until they get punched in the mouth?
I guess.
Well, we'll see. See how he responds to it. Yeah. Is Darius Slay out? Because Darius Slay has a lot to say about what Juju Schuster's going to do. I know he was hurt the last game I seen, but I don't follow the team, so I don't know. Come on, man. You went out last night. See, man. See, man. See what happens when you go to happy hour. He was at Retros last night. I knew I seen that fro somewhere.
That's crazy. So you was out too?
Man, I went past it. I live out there, man. I'm just saying.
No, it seems like
shout out to Retros Bar and Grill.
It seems like he's playing. I'm gonna have to wipe this down after that call.
Talk about COVID and social distance and sanitizing. You have to cut the show off.
But, I mean, we at the end. So, any last thoughts?
Just like I have every week. Check us out next week, same time, same channel.
We'll be here next week.
Yeah, we get the show still. We get 6 months left, baby.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, we just had come into the show bounce.
Hey,
we have a new core group coming in. So
make sure y'all show them love.
Definitely, man. There's a lot of talent. I don't know what they have working on, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be something dope. Adam Dale does a great job of getting everybody together. He has a great job at hand. He does a great job with it. So we do this, but I'm a fan also. So I look forward to see what's happening with the next generation of score. But don't forget about us. Check us out every week. We still will be here on Wednesdays and Thursdays doing our thing. Shout out to Rondell Sutherland. Shout out to Coach. I mean, everybody that makes this thing a thing, man. I appreciate everybody doing the thing with your boy. What you got to say?
Look, he's shouting me out. I'm just over here on the boards chiming in when I chime in. Shout out to T. He holding the show now, especially with it mostly being him over there. You know, we missing Coach sometimes, but with T here, he holding it down. He holding it down, giving that knowledge. He the man with the facts.
Hey.
So, shout out to him. Make sure y'all show him love. Definitely. He on the big things. He gonna be the next Stephen A.
I'm trying to be better than that dude. I want to face off against him. On score. I don't even want to do it on ESPN. Bring him here. Bring him here so I can eat his lunch.
All right, but we catch y'all next time. Like he said, next week, same time.